창문이야. 지루들이 쇼할 샵지도 안들이 아니 다른 공도 쉬는 신기 가수다 공도 쉬베 초선한 자도 이제 밀레레베 남탈을 최네 아는 아주도 무기 대바스거다 무기 쓰거래 대바도 무기 꼴이야 네甚至天比起学校去学习
So first, good afternoon, and once again, warm greetings to all of you. And in continuing with the discussion on the life story of Milarepa, or for that matter, related to the life story of Milarepa, earlier I was mentioning the important role of confidence, or faith, and devotion. So maybe I will share with you some thoughts along the line of faith or confidence and devotion.
지단다 지주 밀레제베기 아니 남타르나로리아 공기 달라마 마르 제네 달라마 마바치 라마르 템바니 송셰 지단 라마 마르베기 콩리아 가슈레 참경 시라마나체 지 가슈레바 지 가견당 다나신게 에너지 가제 망부지 나주 근데 이미냐 밀레베게 토리아 참선 지 가슈레다 다디 지 라만들의 닌지메 라만 닌지메바 인당 야나 나랑 가르소에 디버치아타바 인당 간제이나 사마로 든제다가 건들 시스템이야 가서 앞셋 사마로 다지 로함다 이체르데 게브레데 이베네 자외 차네 에는 가서 라마 마발라마 때야디 자외 차네 르 마당치다 라로군 자바디 자외 차네 고 가르소지 템버시지에도 도스 이미 인주사네 다 든지지 용고야디 조디 공기다 라마 마르발이야 다 대바 템버스네 장도 무기 규모메 바지여바 텔레 땡체 충분히 바지 아주 든지지 듯이 되고요 알았어
So ever since Milarepa became connected with Marpa, and therefore approaching him and going for guidance, Marpa was never known to have sort of treated him, at least in appearance, warmly or seemingly in a very kind and affectionate ways. In fact, Marpa was on the other hand known for treating him rather harshly and that putting him through all kinds of hardship, so much so, even in the minds of somebody so sort of strong as Milarepa, it said that there are times that it occurred in Milarepa's mind that could it be possible that my teacher lacks in his kindness or compassion, or could it be because of the great degree of my harmful activities, sort of the baggage of my negativities, that is the reason for being put through such sort of harsh and hardship. And so there were probably a number of times that Milarepa got upset and even sometimes quite disheartened. But nevertheless, since the moment of the connection with Marpa until the complete fulfillment of the goal, Milarepa never gave up on Marpa. Or for that matter, Milarepa never sort of stopped from going ahead, continuing to still pursue this bond or relationship. So what is read from this more commonly is that it is the result of the tremendous, unwavering devotion of Milarepa to Marpa that was sort of the backbone, or that was the main cause that the Milarepa sort of to withstand all the situations. So if that was so, then what does devotion really entail, and what does it mean?
안드네 지단다 pyugyu namba sangye ba samarwe pyugye nangdian da pyugyu namba sangye begi da gashwe da dos la pyugyu namba sangye begi jidanda nyamnen cha sanan jangdo pyugyu nangdian di kashi mangbuchi samle nalo ya ji sanga de jibo ma do medebe subsidy samtang di already imbine ngwe ni chu tholya pyugyu namba sangye ba di ji tiwa sungge ge deba yosu zoba dusi nyamlen chebe ko imbine tiwa sungge ge chö yosu zoba ro chi nyamle dus nang ge are de ibi inza andi ta tin pyugyu namba sangye be ge da tumu me bi keju se rando dona 가사지 gyulya tewasum gemedo nyamsulya yobajidang 대안지 가주에 다 로진기 장데 draye demchi rijin draye de 비긴 나바 상게 캐주스네 단도 나 코랑고 뒤모면 저당로 두스 요래요 다 디나네 자 상아 냠레나베 거리야 라마사디 계속 차디요 안에 라마 계속지 지디가 안에 다디 지용주 사네 다디 지용주사 별해야지 라마디 계속 제자 지 베베기 나바상게 발해야지 라메 추루스 데데스 민다니데 충분해 강다리안디 가서다 라만 대버치아들이야 지금 김제한데 데스 시작한데 계속 스타르샤 대야지 라마레야베 상게 우리 두시샤 상게는 잡으러 지지 가서 가지고 다만 두시를 두 송게 믿겼어 용어요. 다디 그거 준서 하고 그래서 마다 베게 그거 견전에서 하마 왔지 더가서 아니 람 록스여를 계시 침비나 지잖아 되게야 아 가져해 년가 세는다도 야나 강에 섬시바 님들 이비사 그거就是现在的开始不是
In general, Buddhism presented or taught through the Tibetan tradition, the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, even though sort of general perception has that in the tradition of Buddhism as presented through the Tibetan tradition is Buddhism presented through the Tibetan tradition is the secret Mantrayana. And in reality, that is not so. In reality, the Buddhism as presented through the Tibetan tradition is the integration of the three yana vehicles. And both in terms of the philosophy as well as practice. And in fact, if you were to talk about the distinct characteristic or feature of Buddhism presented through the Tibetan tradition, that is the integration of the three yanas. So both in terms of philosophical presentation as well as stages of path of practice. So that is important to understand because this is a matter of fact, and to think or to have the notion that the Buddhism presented through the Tibetan tradition is exclusively that of the Vajrayana or the Mantrayana is obviously not so, not true. Then, as Buddhism presented through the Tibetan tradition, there is a great emphasis on the important role of the Lama, or that of the spiritual master, and significant and important role of, and so in this way that to the outside world, in a way, when there is a lot of emphasis on the important role of the spiritual master in the form of the Lama, and this is also oftentimes sort of put forth that emphasizing the importance of the teachings presented by the so-called Buddhist teachings presented by the Tibetan Lama, so sometimes even known as the Lama's sort of religion or Lamaism, and but in reality it has more to do with the importance of the role of spiritual tradition. So in that the role of the spiritual master or the Lama is important. If one can appreciate it, that one can begin to find out that for one as a practitioner, the Lama is as important as the Buddha, or is that the Lama is that same as the Buddha. So in that way, and appreciating that view or that pure view about the Lama. And so, since the role of the spiritual master or the Lama is important, obviously it makes all the more sense. Why? So what is the main reason why the role of the spiritual master or the Lama is important? Because we can't afford to leave it to the notion that this must be something cultural, something sort of customary. And so if we think it's a matter of just simply culture or custom, and so then that could, in a way, sort of that notion could be dangerous, and so therefore, and also could cause harm and confusion.
Lama Sadi Yakelia and Guru Sadi, Tarambe, Tegar Senadrado, that Tigi Kashwe, Tendarandi, Yakele, Guru Satana. Chezangazu Yagala, Lamas Jet, Sipiju Tambale, Guru Sad, Sipiju Tambina, Chichen Samia, Watcher. Shema the Lama Lama Sudizanti, Tajido, Daji, Pebeki, Lama, some of the Marble Quending here of Chi. One shadow, they demare, Gurus or the Inza, a church in there, Sangi Jumdin de Guruba. And the Hindustani, Sangi Jumdin de Demba Inza, Lame Demba, Lame Zim, Lame Magic Hemdo, Lame Zimsana. That when Gurugi Chulu Sena, Dado, Sangi Jumdin de Lamare, Tig Chulu Jinza. That did Guske Omata, only the woman's agenda, Lama is Dusan. Mashi Google na Lamas Lana, Flo Abrigagi, Rajua, take what I own. Lamas Sergeant, Flo Abrigagi, Flo Miragidua, Rags or Chickens, they Timil Lamas go, Lamas, Lama Raskis, Yuendegi, Tandala. Guru Sam, Lama Sadi, Yuendegi Chiwa. Heavy summer, Jigosa, then a Shingdon Ruchilia, Dribu Lodo, Manguevina, and Diva Sigma, Yagadma, Kashuma, Tempest of Chichi, or Jigosa, Davis of only order to Dirich. Jibu Chiwaro, Shingdon of Bena, Jibu Champion, Jibu Tard of Delia, Tosma, Cartway, Kukuchi Delia, these which Yuende, Chiwa, Yuende, Capital of Hawaii, Deva, that literally Lamas. Donna Sangijum din there, a Lamasana, Gurusana, the Charlie. Just Sangijum din Diki Debati, Mazuki. That's what it is. What is it? Tempeshamda.
The Lama is Tibetan word, and the Tibetan word Lama is seems to be the direct translation from the Sanskrit word Guru, and so. Maybe it is better, actually, instead of Lama, we say Guru, and maybe that it is more appreciated in the context of what it means. Because maybe when we say Lama, probably people might think it has something to do exclusively with those red-robed ones. And among them, the Lama is relevant, and so most maybe from that point of view. Anyway, that Lama is the spiritual guide, spiritual master. So from that point of view, even if we refer to Lama, we refer to the Buddha as Lama, there is no contradiction, no conflict. Buddha is the Guru in the truest sense of the word, the Lama, the perfect teacher. And so if understood properly, the point is if understood properly, whatever name is given is not that important. And, for instance, call it Lamaism and call it Lama or Guru or whatever, but without understanding, based on misconceptions, then attaching label and taking them as being what it is. That's where the issue for confusion or therefore the danger rises. So then, of course, maybe Lama is not obviously very established word in that if you Google, for instance, for Lama, and what it seems to appear is that some Latin American animal and called Lama, and so but anyway, so there is another kind of Lama too there too, but Lama, translation of which in Sanskrit is Guru, literally means weighty, and that means that the sort of the greatness, the weight, sort of in terms of giving some kind of like weight idea to qualities, the enormity of the quality, the profundity of the quality carries such incredible sort of weight in the way of respect and to be acknowledged. So weighty, and sometimes when we talk about that some trees with abundance of fruits, and so it is weighed down by its abundance of fruits and sort of the branches and bending down, and so weighed by the fruit that it carries. So along the same line, that the great profundity, sort of the greatness of the qualities that is embodied by the spiritual master from that point of view.
现在俺就咱们的行动这个级别，行动干部，听这句没不起，行动这部轮的给的吧，俺这部级别全部也的吧，这样别这部修起来嘛就各种苦苦的起来呗，是不是？就为了吧，这有说起的，俺就给他同样的去，每几年选的起来的，这有说他的那些。 다 간다야 아주 삼을 찍단 거야 돼 가르쳐나 아주 삼려 나로래 상계에 세두잖아 삼삼 배 가서 배지 자한다 체차지 배게 가서 배 다지谢谢두사 배 배지 삼지미제 루유로 마상 바르지谢谢두사네 삼자 러중서 잘하셔도 미톨로지 삼아네 다 러중서지 미토르지 르베데 다 러중서지 다지 우마 상게디 너니동 앞에 건이야 야가래야 배 아주 아주 민나신 좋아미 수리야全些 오늘 제가 아주 능신기 아주 다지 봐 미세사 미그그 소마르 미기세사 미그그 다 들리지 걸리 버지 제한로에서 스타트 성기 미디어 버티게 시시시시두사네 다티 상계된 아주 타르로 동고여다 타니로 동고여 이 초아로디 대하고 하면 초진의 상계디 이제 계주셔야 돼요 요아르디 이인비냐 따고 가셔야 간다지 상계디 미 수수페버들라 거버를 줘야 아주 딘디지 가셔야 삼동화의 계집을 자리도 계디 상계디 대링기 뒤름이 저집을 니토리아 폐비나 아주 통난라야 상계 컨디션 통고요 다시 아주 통난의 상계디 다 아주 기세는 지들의 섬기 미겨받아 가서 딘디시 아주 제도야 가라고 면조서 다 간다 아주 통수열에 다 간다 지 미상보를 기부다 다가서 상보 개발도 파반도 대전 마다베 아주 주일에 나와서 아주 통통 말아봐. 인도스탄에 진짜 섬동과의 계속 시작했다. 세상 라마의 상계 루시 샤사디 계속 가르쳐 되었으나 계획신이 진이의 데미지 예외이나 다들 같이 상계 지구를 잘 되어서 소소 상경의 제비네 아파지 계획이 진이 되면 될 하지 다다 아주 될 나오지 이제 들어서는 거 하면서 제자 다단 제 되면 될야 상경의 신 야 상경의 신이 될 자체自己 这个他透过都他连这个名都上上路去，真的没有去。我他当然也这个他说，技术给我了，这这个有些下去，得了呀个第一站呢，我做个原点连过来的，也是不是的差的多少，都是这样。
So, in general, it would be in one's interest to appreciate the Lama or the Guru as someone who's highly endowed with all the qualities, all the knowledge, like using the example of the tree which is that's rich with the fruit and sort of the branch and leaves bending down, that carrying that load of the weight of the fruit. So in this way, qualities. In any event, now, when we talk about the Buddha, on one hand, the kind of the notions, the concepts that we have of the Buddha and the way we talk about the Buddha is something sort of beyond, totally. And we have the ideas Buddha is something inconceivable, something sort of, beyond one's mind. And the more we begin to talk about the Buddha becomes some kind of mythological sort of divinity or entity that, apart from mythology, the reality of actually the Buddha becomes sort of questionable. And so it deserves a good thought that this way of approaching the Buddha, whether it takes us further away from the Buddha or brings us closer to the Buddha, more likely that it takes us further away from the Buddha. That Buddha is so much so that is more and more unreachable and more beyond thoughts, and so might as well sort of kind of give up on it. And whereas in reality, over 2,500 years ago, that the Buddha was born as a human being and that lived in the human world among human beings, ate human food, wore human clothes, and so on. So in this way, that we need to realize sometimes the kind of concept, to some extent, the lofty ideas that we have and the great way in which we want to supplicate the Buddha, maybe it has a place, but if we take that sort of angle alone, then it's not so sure whether it's taking us further away from the Buddha or closer to the Buddha. And so in this way, that we probably should appreciate the fact that the Buddha was born as a human being and appeared in a human form. And to bring that to sort of reality has an important place. For instance, if the Buddha is among us in this 21st century, and I doubt whether we'll be able to see the Buddha in the way we normally describe the Buddha. That probably at the best we will see the Buddha as a good human being, maybe an exceptionally good human being. And that we won't see the Buddha as anything beyond our imagination, because what we are faced with is something that doesn't go beyond our imagination. And so sort of what we have to appreciate what we see. And so in this way, if the Buddha is with us presently in the 21st century, and we can only see as the Buddha as a good human being, then when we have the opportunity to relate to a good spiritual master, then it might make sense that we appreciate this connection as being equally with the Buddha. Because we really, even if we see the Buddha, we can't see beyond a good human being. And all the qualities and all the sort of glorious attributes, more likely we will not be able to see or perceive. And that we are not at the stage where we have sort of divine outlook and have the visions of divinities and what have you. So what we have is a realistic sort of human relationship. And so from that point of view, to be able to relate to where we are and to appreciate that. And so then, that if you are able to appreciate the qualities of good teacher that we have, and that qualities and sort of the benefit that we receive, and then being able to see that as the Buddha is realistically more in our interest or benefit, then to create imaginations of a Buddha that in reality we can't sort of strike a chord with.
That is the movie shape Kolia. That never sad, movie sad, forget senior, never the Kubasas. Never sad. Takaso longing those stuff under the never citizen, Jilia Kasuaji, so Tawaye Deva. That day, Chona Sonsor of the Digi, Devasham Shire Deva. That Digi on the never sad. Deva never that's what Shisha. That Kuba citizen, that Kuba said the Tras Kasuaji, Semlia, the Delia Kasue, Semgi. Mebatsa Maiba. Luda Naga Tolia, Kandar, Lungaki, Namjursen and Lungaki, Chave Tolia, Kasueta, Kandar Pa, we say Tebetone, or Kasueti, Chavacha. That is some Mugu Sadi, that Kuba Sadi, Kasue. Says that Tabale, this Mugu should say, remember also sort of stuff, and the Mebasada won't do Kitabasam. Mebasadi, Susuji, Debachi, they top it, Tendo, and Susu Lunga Yisumdi, and the Congress Casualty. Pomba Neverson and Pamba Never, teach Cholia, Donga, Lodoncha, literally Quebasgard. Just Milarepa to recharge our him, but the Tangda, Brown, Mizina, when they turn the Tong Tolia, it's all on a chummer. Because the Tambo miss the Dibasa. Dibasa Inza, that didn't give us Shibushi. That did Diba di Shanama, San Jimasa. Jimasons, that gave us Jemada, sometime Esta. Dibaji Shamatun Chezang, Dibasha. Sendilia, the Sangia, Majuna, Jimmy somebody. Telebe, on the Tenegi, Castle Tandu, easier, which was gay. The Telia, Sangi Combatoya, Double Shuji, that other magic cameras, that is Shumare. That name you stand teach also, just Susugi, Lunga is so courage, Lorion, Chawa Shumbina, that Chiagi, Coraji Carjoy, Nindopson and Rado, Dumbatembo, the Chirwa. That in been around sort of the Chasha women. Tindigi, Twang or Tolia, the Digi, Carjoy, that's Milarepa Nanshiji. Mugugi, Sona things Samuruchi, Pacha things Samuruchi, Chumia means other chats by him, Sangi Gombasadi, Yen Kandiji may have war Marla, she Sangi Gombande, that Tomne, Yahudo, Matomne, Ketchesa Marisa Saruchi, 看你写个要么的嘛，都可能把这点点的钱的嘛，只不过就他看到先第一个，对用老师的说他给钱，但是嘛都没这个人都什么，这上海我们是啥的，那的来的就他说，来说啥的啊的，现在第一说钱就是啥呢？他没有啥的，不是点就是他，没有啥的，还是就是钱啥的，这个差钱的，这个。吃个半价了，真的就不嘛嘞。他看他是就是米鱼的送钱，这就恐怕突然些都是两岸一送，怕白水钱，买到这个半这，人家嘛这个嘛这嘛这，第别这玩意儿是估计的，你这个。
Now along the same line, and connecting that with the confidence and devotion that I was talking about earlier, the word in Tibetan for devotion is mögyu, and there's 2 syllables. And first one is mö, which is the meaning of longing, sort of yearning, and seeing some sense of clear purpose and yearning for it very strongly and very sort of clearly yearning for it. And then the second syllable gu or guba has that the meaning along with that yearning and that longing, and one is able to actively commit the actions of one's body, speech and mind towards fulfillment of that yearning, sort of engaged the yearning, longing, and so in this way just full participation of one's body, speech and mind, and without reservation towards the fulfillment of the intended purpose. So devotion is the combination of that meaning. And so longing and yearning, that one feels so much so that one is able to put one's body, speech and mind towards fulfilling what one longs for and yearns for. And Milarepa had that intact. He is the true example of somebody who embodied the complete, unwavering devotion. He felt it, and sort of through and through, he felt it. And he had sort of clarified to himself that he has done incredible harmful activities, and having been the cause for the death of so many people, and he felt the repentance fully, wholeheartedly, and if he, by the truth of cause and effect, that if he couldn't engage in sort of definite measures or antidote, that there's no future for him in terms of anything in the way of goodness and well-being. So it's like any possibility of good future is completely lost and gone. And so in this way, that towards the purification of whatever defilements accumulated, and towards the fulfillment of the only one purpose, the purpose of complete enlightenment, and that he was willing to make a full involvement, total involvement of his body, speech and mind, which he did so, and then as such that he was able to become triumphant and gain the result. Now in our case, honestly, when it comes to devotion and having the actual feeling of it in our sort of very being, I doubt whether we really have it not. More likely, we don't have it, so we are kind of half-hearted about it. The real sort of the drive, the real feeling probably is not there, certainly not there in a consistent, ongoing way. Probably the picture is more like this, that, well, if I attain Buddhahood, that will be good. If I don't, it seems to be quite all right, you know. Just the way I have sort of things because of the preoccupations or fixations that we have, and so that we have the feeling that as it is, it's not bad. But if one can attain Buddhahood, that will be fine. So once we have this kind of two ways about what might be possible, then obviously that's where we stay. So this motions of going through, for instance, the rituals of going for refuge or doing certain number of prostrations or making some offerings or lighting some incense here and there, and then expecting some kind of gift coming down, and that sort of might lift one up, is obviously not the way to approach. So in this way, that whether we have what it takes in the way of devotion is obviously so. At least we need to ponder, about it more seriously.
That name is an that loud, ba. That is a quantity Dumba, never temple check. And that tiki, Karashe, Dumba, never temple yeva tolia, Lunga yisungi beba, Lunga yisungi, the bezir of the Paramachiba, those shabby in Dusana, when it's a Takashwe, Qua, Zikashwe, Trumde, that church, some. 최우선 다 중재 첨부로 더더 제샤 제자당 안소인의 되는 시래 안소 오늘 전에디 리지스도 민년 바상말에 나 미상보다 년바상 기지저로다 미 야보다 도자사 기지르산 미 도자 오늘 되라 오늘 전에 미 도자지야 대신하시라 저 말았어 그 하고 그래서 오늘은 미 두자 이내야 미 가르쳐 나오다디 미 두자 오늘디 지라시아요 말았어 미 상부 주면디 지나서시나 미 상부 주면서 말해 미 야부 두자 미 야부 두자 오늘디를 시야 먹었지 미 상부 주면디 대 지나서 알았어 그러나 통고 말았어 배를 찾아위나 가서 하고 해야 될 거라 하고 싶으시죠. Imparts. 베네샤샤위는 아주 메돌리아 지 추접 섬으로 메돌리아 추접 메돌리아 추접 메돌 다부제에 지가 넘주 된 거 아니스. 이나 거기 메돌 추자 추디 추차보 이나 미즈 더두산에 아니 그 메돌 추잡대도 그 가서 다디 미상부임에 남주를 땡겨위네 된도 그다 추차불로 셔거든 이나 미즈 추차불로보다 하마와치 그 메돌 추자대요도 마도 추차불로 대요도 하고 말았어 디서를 제제 제장 아랑수 다다지 가르래 미상부임버 롬밤 야나지 소소는 논주 매바 롬니 딘디지기 가르래다 타나 소수 전이기 소수 근데 이베지 하마오 논주산에 다티 신앙사부시다 차디 유스래 드린주산 디 균전데네 다 개치슈디 ene 가수에다 랑우랑 셰르지 다들 시작과데 개체부스라를 샤
So in the case of Milarepa, with unwavering confidence and devotion, with the unwavering motivation to commit oneself through one's body and speech wholeheartedly and consistently, and sort of with the resolve, whatever it takes. And having that kind of commitment, having had that kind of resolve, and so Milarepa is therefore known for having the derived sort of or experience, rather, the result that he experienced, the very heart of enlightenment, and within his lifetime. Now, in our sort of receiving inspirations from such, or in general, as to taking a stock of where things are at, we need to consider certain facts. And like among ourselves as people, we talk about there being wonderfully good people, they're exceptionally good people, and there are also terribly bad people. And but actually we sort of take a closer look at when we know or hear that some people are terribly bad, then we, in a way, know that they are not so dangerous. Because we know that they are like this. But it is the fake good ones that are dangerous. Sort of those who are fake good ones, in appearance playing good, in reality lacking the elements, sort of playing in that sense the fake good. As to what that means, what kind of danger it poses, is that, like, when you want to nurture a flower, one of the things you do is, water the flower. And so, you see somebody is pouring water on the flower. And your immediate perception would be, oh, so that's very nice, this person is watering the flower, that means it will contribute towards the flower's growth or protection. But the person looking didn't know that this other person pouring the water was pouring hot water on the flower. And when you put hot boiling water on the flower, it doesn't contribute towards the maintaining or sustaining of that flower. So there are more than often the appearance, so the deceptive aspect is a good, fake good, in that sense. But in reality, it is not so. Yet, more importantly, forget about others as to whether they are good or they're bad. It is not clear to ourselves as to, that is, when you ask yourself as to where you are at, how good you are, how bad you are, what are you like, you're not so sure. In reality, where you are in reality. And so that when things are not sort of particularly clear as to where one is, and sort of can therefore be influenced in that sense either way, and so nothing is in a way more harmful or serious than failing to know in reality, at least from the spiritual point of view, failing to know that oneself, failing to know who one is, that one doesn't know who one is.
다 드린 주사는 다 드릴 시에지 다 간다. 지주 밀레레베 지 남타 게 쳔베 다 간다. 응주 기부 담반는 지 남타르디 아주 더 지주 밀레레바 능신지 다가 능신 지하기 처지도 아주 차상 요마네. 이네 제과야 요마네. 이베냐 공기 다 간다 닝도다. 다는 신기 다 준주 다는是学工那다는是시럽 그래서 이번에 아주에게 미진하는 리냐 원고 예배제다 아주 다들지 폰이 예배지 민비산에 다들 아주에게 저 롭션 제거야 지금 다 정말 두고야지 내려는 좀 같이 차대 여러 섬 정도 드레인주산디 준전되네 ane 가수에 당기 권도 쉬면 나신데 다디 지 원주 로규 자마이 봐 다디기 가수라다지 나한테서나도 남타르기 님부르디 다다야네 아주 냠내 쳐도지다 되는 가수에 라는 답도 봐 드리지고 왔다 계속 시라는 내 샤인 디젤 다 좋아지는 생각서
So in short, be it in the case of life story of Milarepa, or for that matter, the life story of any prominent and great masters of the past, obviously we are not able to fully emulate their lives or live our lives like theirs. And in a way, maybe it is not even necessary, and given the context or circumstances. But what we need to appreciate is the what has been the cause of the fulfillment of the visions of these highly enlightened beings, such as the incredible examples of determination by such beings, the perseverance, the consistency of perseverance, and sort of patience, and intelligence and wisdom that these incredible beings embodied had. And the recognizing these are qualities we really should yearn for, and we need them. And we need to, for that matter, recognize if anything we are deprived of these qualities. And so therefore, in any of these qualities that one can cultivate would be in one's interest. And so as I mentioned at the very beginning, that when we are going over the life stories of such great beings like Milarepa, that we don't leave it just as a matter of sort of history or stories, and that the essence of their life stories are very much applicable in our lives in many different ways. And so therefore we need to take to heart that to whatever extent one can practically implement any element of such examples, then that will be and a practical approach in that way of saying that one is inspired by such life stories. So probably better to conclude here and attend to some questions. So His Holiness wants me to go over a few of the questions. Anyway, the first one here is, what are the benefits of being a monastic, wandering yogi, versus a householder keeping the ultimate goal of recognizing the mind of enlightenment in mind? And what factors should a practitioner take into consideration when deciding what path to choose, householder or monastic?
What's the benefit? Become an ordinary, being a monastery. Yeah. Actually, there should be a benefit. Should be some benefit. But not sure. Not sure for these days. That the Gyunsen de Karasana. Mare, that did this. Jidang Janata, Kimber, Rabdu Shume Kansaji Nanda, Kimber Kansaji Nanda. Dan Donna Chunyam, Chigoredo. Dan Donna Rabdu Shuma di Lungagi Kashbreda, she. That is that Tartu Kandarji Rabdu Chumegi, Jinyamle Chag Bena, Ninjung, Chanju Samsaru. That diggy Mina, Chimbegda, Yamle, Magica Merujua. Yamle Mena, Majena, Sangia, said the Omarta. I immediately came out of the Jeda, Rabdu Chumadi, Tönyo, Chawanyos. Kimbadi, energy to him, our Chawama was somewhere. That is Suzuki Kimji Chawa, the Nomi Chawama, which you have said. The Degatone, energy, Chenyam Chalia, and Tuzu Tonada, Telia, Suzuki, and a Kashore. You said Tonalia, Kashore, purchase and other. Telia, and Gangesio. That of the Shumara Jimina, and the Jesus Museum, Tuzu Shibudi. And Kandaraji Church of Yamich, Tamba Inzo. Good in good. I am designed to Zula, and the Kimbada John Jibuaj, and don't some of the Chonkashi, Kimberley, Lagamanza, Mother Chadua, and the name Dusana Tadi Kashre Tadi Unesita, the Jets. And I am in there, Tadi. Rabdu Chunga Zamshigi, and the Jeko, Pentoyamata, Kalakapshare, Taim Zozo di Rabdu Chunza to Darabdi, and that calling ever Jung San Andrando. Ninjung Samba, Temple Digi, but you go usare, then you sand that Digi, Ninjung Samba Demos Yevetone, and the Rabdu Chunga in Bina, then the Rabdu Chungegi, Tango Cheverji. As you don't cover something that they do them and something.
essentially, if one is to attain complete enlightenment, then what is required of the individual is the cultivating genuine or authentic altruistic heart and genuine renunciation. And that is necessary both for a lay practitioner, whether it's a householder or a monastic practitioner, that ultimately that these elements bring about the realization of enlightenment. That is true renunciation or revulsion, and having cultivated authentic altruistic heart. Now, generally, if one takes up the monastic approach, there should be some benefit. Benefit is, as it is said, that if one follows the monastic path, was more correctly referred to as the path of the renunciate, and so having sort of renounced worldly engagements, and so that means less worldly activities, and therefore one can turn one's the energies or activities, one's body, speech, and mind more fully and to practice of the Dharma. Whereas, the other way around is as a householder, that one would have so many activities to what would be, from worldly terms, practical or useful activities that one need to engage, and therefore, of course, taking up one's time, and so forth. So therefore, it would be more in one's interest to have more time to be able to sort of renounce worldly engagements and sort of take to the monastic life. And but of course, given present circumstances, it's also difficult to say that these days sometimes some monastics seems to be more involved in worldly ways than some householders, and more things to do in the world than maybe householders. So if that were the thing, then of course just simply in appearance, having followed the monastic path is not sufficient, because in essence what it means to take the monastic life is that to say that one has walked the path of renunciation. So at the center of it is, more than appearance, is renunciation, that one has sort of felt or experienced the futility of the world of samsara, and therefore that wants to renounce the world of futility. So if that were the approach, obviously that there will be a benefit. Sorry, without glasses, I can't read. We are learning about the life of Milarepa, that he was tenacious, never gave up, worked tirelessly. In context to my own life, if assuming my perception is right, and that I never gave up and worked hard to the best of my ability, and then never got the desired result, then should I accept it as my destiny? Would it amount to accepting defeat?
다디 가져대 다 가르쳐 다디 얘가 판바사 기지 가면도 간다디 나라 섬주를 제외입니다 지당기 직den기 나로래야 가르쳐다 그 닝부 예바 삼르 닝부 예베 최질이야 아니 가르쳐해 닝부 예베 최질 려마당체 디체도 배주체 디체도 가르쳐해 려동체 제외입니다 덴덴지 튜니르 용거를 섬정이 닝부 매버 서버로 튼다시다 매대바 야나지 루야 매버를 찍다 간다 다 가시 자꾸 직딩 자와 가시 리온디 거봐 데이비산 제가 체도는 려동을 제비미네 다디 진짜 려동 제 매주 제바 코로나랑 된다 매버지 코로나랑 판배 자와지로 봐 코로나디 매주 제야 코로나 아니 아주 짙게 가수래 판과쿠리아기 레가지 제대기 예배 인두산 근데 뭐 당번에 맞으는가 소리 좀 받으셔야 되고 말을 나들 인두산 녀리야 매주 지유의 미유디 다다지 가수래 튜니 예배지다 지부 예배지 다 늦지 있는 면사这样거 가수래 삼동과디 계속 주면도 섬정이
So here, defeat or victory aside, first one needs to clarify to oneself that the goal or the pursuit that one is pursuing is truly meaningful, truly purposeful, and that one has to sort of thoroughly understand and sort of come to fine-tune with it, because in the world, many of the things that people pursue in the world, to begin with, one should know it's meaningless. To begin with, one should know that one can't fulfill these kind of things. So then when you pursue something which is totally, meaningless, and that, there's no meaningful result, no satisfactory result is going to come out of it, then the question of defeat doesn't even arise, because already you are pursuing something that is defeat. That is defeat already. And, anything, there's already defeat of any purpose. So in this way, that if what one is pursuing is something realistically meaningful, purposeful, then to whatever degree one will reap, the corresponding result. So that most important is one pay attention to the reality and then sort of like actually what it is that one is pursuing and the very truth of it. It's only saying 3 more questions. What is devotion for you and how to generate it? Yes, what is devotion for you and how to generate it? Buddha said everything is impermanent. Is that including karma? Karma also impermanent?
Of course. Everything is changing, impermanent. But impermanent not means it's not existing or it's a will Kashwada. When you are Jodi or when you are Jodi, that is Mava Chandore, Korele, Koran, you are Jugi, between the order. That is what the Kadijasai. Impermanent inza, and a Kazada. That is it, that what did it, 아. 이네. 인수. 인수. 따이. 미다바 이나다 파시 가수 용암 가수에 다 가수다. 더보다 그랬어요. 다들 유한 로레스. 근데 그냥 하고 메스라.
Not quite sure what your doubt is, but yes, everything changes, and so yes, karma is impermanent, but that doesn't mean it doesn't occur. Impermanent doesn't mean it doesn't occur. Impermanent means it changes. And then change has also some form of that while changing, there is also the change has some aspect of continuity also.
Second last.
In the 21st century, how should one recognize one's guru?
One's guru.
21st century.
21st century. Then the last one, last question. 야, 지금인데. 아, 찍으려고.
The next question is, as a mother, the mother of Milarepa took bad karma. How can one be a good mother without interfering in the child's destiny?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is enough. 나 당부들이야 디 뒤름 니즈지 봐. 나 뒤름 니즈지 비게 가르쳐 버렸잖아. 나 뒤름 니즈지 봐디 간단 아주지 시행 그 뒤름 세나라도. 그 체리 뒤름 또 차디 알아. 자선 오만은 신체네지. 람룩수지 부어지 줘야디. 람룩수를 줘 봐. 그 룩수 대지 줘야죠. 다 뒤바지 깔아 합시다 해서. 같이 근데 용구를 다 임비네 미망치야디 안다 간다지 균제시에 통 마치 남바 상계 뭐 코랑게 마취 손도 인지미지 균제시에 통하는 사람도 니루 거에 통하네 냠내 지하지 마도 니루 하고 균제 마시에 발 냠내 지당지 남바 상계 위쇼나 바지 여반네 다 임비네 다고 람도스르 대지 존도도 지금 르르 유서라 봐다 and they do sane 나바상기 베숑난 데송고 나시 아주 뒤름 니주 지지 번 니나로 아주 딘데지 뭐 니주 라랭 토알이 미냐 니루 유지 셰베 토네 라마지 템베 임비네 니루 유지 셰베 토네 라마 대야시 마도베 안다가지 잘로 진주르지 가서 지기 제래야 람루즈 제수 담아 야나지 따지 민다 착바 딘데기 제수 담아 좀 많이 비치 니루 유지 셰베 토네 아 간다 내뒤 학고에 토네 제거하디 계속 시라래셔서 또 정도 라바르도 다들이 계획신이지 때발라 계획신이 친이 가지마 아 계획신인데 다 진이의 때바지 되는지 녀외이네야 될래야 삼절 니기고는 딘수 근제임 다들 하고 삼바도 저외군 계획신인데 수치도 거는 땡고 봐 다들 하고 맞아 계획신이지 신이 되면 예되면 집이 핑계와만 그봐 나 계획신이지 제가 신이 가림이 하고 그냥 일단 되게 상황을 롭좀 제거해야지 되는 거 당번에 롭좀 제거해야지 하고 봐야지 근데 하고에서 롭좀 제배 토안에 아니지 계획신이지 신이 되면지 제거하러 지지래샤 내인두산에 대균셀 때는 딱 롭좀 제 하고 된도록 제 이제 그 토안의 계획신이 된다 된 거야 계획심시라래 해서
So the 21st century is known for being an age of a lot of increase of awareness in terms of all forms of learning, be it in the field of science and other fields of knowledge. And so therefore, we can't just simply go by sort of some existing, custom and try to sort of impose that on somebody. And we have to do it with understanding, with intelligence, with knowledge. For instance, in the teachings of the Buddha, actually, the Buddha has time and again emphasized very strongly that the teachings needs to be examined, thoroughly sort of checked or examined. And not only checked and examined, and having sort of the facts, cleared to one, that one clearly understand the facts. And then, having examined and having seen, the meaning and the fact, then to embrace them, to practice them, and not just simply sort of gullibly approaching it. So therefore, that it is discouraged to pursue, spiritual path or practice simply because of customs or prevailing customs, or following somebody because other seems to be following, sort of following the flock away or gullibly, or just because of some name tag or whatever it is. And so these obviously, one can't afford to do that, as well as one shouldn't do it because one has the ability for discernment, ability for intelligence. So in this way, whether it's in the case of oneself or helping somebody else, so one should encourage the discerning approach. One should encourage that that learning the facts before getting involved with one, whatever one gets involved with. Connecting with the spiritual master, then one needs to realize how important it is for one to be connected with the spiritual master. And in that case, then it is equally important or even more important for one to know what should be the good qualities or characteristics of a spiritual teacher, and learning about it. Not just simply, following like one lacks these kind of abilities. So, examining if a teacher has these qualities that a spiritual teacher is supposed to have. And then realizing having a spiritual teacher is only one part of it, and that having a spiritual teacher is not, alone not good enough. Then one's approach to the spiritual master. What are the approaches of a student, correct approach of a student towards a spiritual teacher? What should be the motivation? What should be the attitude? And what should be understanding in this relationship? And so in this way, that sort of developing the relationship. But prior to that, one needs to really sort of learn, study what are the necessary things that one need to know. So this approach is through understanding it through knowledge, and then pursuing, in this case, spiritual path is extremely important.
지준 밀레레베기 용디다 지 두자 가사 두자사다 하소다 당기지 랭에 잡진 산도서 기지 저러다 이내양 아주 들리스고 마다야 기지 신다시 지준 밀레레발이야 다간다 아마 가르레다 딘지기 취 가르레 다양한 디측이야 고로지만 다양한 디측 다들 가는 라오다 하대 레라오지 라돼 지dengi 간다르지 전두 년경서 랍산 좀 전두 년경 다 저기 차와 숙심부터 드시 매비미나 다가나 아마 드시 매비나 아니 지준 밀레레바 드리지 요한데 요 아마스 지준 밀레레바 다 드리지 요한데 조 찍데 겐 찍데 개치주제데 다 아마디 겐체제 드리 충분히 다 드리지 시에고 봐. 다 드린 주사 초진에 되래 드시야 내 말에 아메 디버사도 땅 말에 디 초진에 아마지 원에 시에비나 부디 간다르지 내가 도와자 땅샤버스 다 초진이 제비미나 초진의 삼담입니다. 텔레덴시에 지준 밀레레베 미진나로다 로종 망보시테. 로종 망보시테. 에네 그 가수에 미진나로 중재 망보지. 쇠야지 충분히면. 너들이 인주산에 다 파메기 지 부글이야. 오늘 전에 딱 아주 삼에게 저와를 주제 파마 삼에게 저와래 부디 아버 총나 삼바라버지다 듈람 상부 총나 삼바라버지 따이는 듈람 상부 사야지 총나 삼바를 들어가서 저와 잡지 단 듈람 상부 사야지 용도 아까라 하bre 삼삼 듈람 상부 용아 체도 베나 부 랍들 땅 랍들 침베난 땅 로저 차 땅들 제비 이네양 자기는 자산 준비이네양 아고 오늘 전에 중재에 콜라야 근데 사부 준재지 영화 매부터 이게 니 주이네요. 공부시다요. 다들 조디 가라서나 지주밀레레베 아마는시 간다 미진나로리아 코란기 소수기 다 파마 소수 부르디즈기 아니면 미지기 냠뇽테도 지다 미진나로 럽존테도 지 가르쳐다 지dengi 니루 베나 가교당 아지 가와다 교와다 미다바다 다가는 신기 다 지dengi 니루지소 어체베 체제 간다르 부디기 가수에 셈리아 간다르 가수에 다 지dengi 가수에다 조단 시에서 마스 다 간다 지den사 간다 지비 다 간다 지 고와사는 다도 지den사 다 간다 지지도 롭종 대도 버치아지 롭종 사는 아주 다 랍들 당 롭종 체사도 메비체 뭐니 주 토리아 소외 틀이야 아주 여기 다 간다 롭종 대도 버치당 디토리아 창롱용도 버치 르비 창롱래 셈기 창롱 체지 용투야 이제 체는 배주 체과데 개점으로 좀 해서 마부샤시지면 다 내일 참 잘상 것을
just a little bit about Milarepa's mother having accumulated bad karma. Maybe that is not necessarily seen in that way. Maybe it is seen more likely in other ways, sort of from the point of the whole picture, as opposed to sort of a segment of it. And uh, that it is probably that the mother's the strong sense of the need to fulfill her wish that has been also in some way played a part in the complete development of the life of Milarepa. Sometimes in the world, we talk about, it's a reality from a relative worldly point of view, and that it is necessary to defeat, enemies and protect loved ones. That's in a worldly context, that's a matter of reality, and if one is able to achieve that, that is an achievement. And so, from the worldly context, one cannot deny that. And then also, from the point of view of the sort of the bigger picture, in general, of course, all parents, certainly most parents, would want to have the best for their children down the road in the future. And but of course, creating that good future is not totally in one's hand. Sometimes, in the hopes of creating the best for the future of one's child, what you do, send them to school and get them educated and so forth. And at the end, certainly, it still doesn't turn out to be what sort of one has invested, in or invested for. And so, obviously, education, in the sense of the sort of linear learning, is not just only the education, because in the greater arena of the world, where all one's experiences of life is played out, whether those sort of high moments or low moments, very sad and very happy situations, and it is in one's interest that one gets sort of first-hand education, or rather training, in the ways of the world, world-wise, worldly wise or world-wise, in terms of first-hand experience of how to live life in the world, how to face challenges. That is, in fact, more important aspect of the education than that of just simply education in the form of the intellectual knowledge and qualifications. And so more of a sort of comprehensive way of approach. And anyway, in short, it is true. There is actually more chances that one will learn lessons and live one's life in a more meaningful way when one is able to personally face the different difficulties and challenges of the world. So sometimes that is also becomes necessary, as opposed to just our maybe conventional way of thinking.
How to live life similarly. Tele chikaru music khorang da ngodres na dado music khorang tenda hakodi music khora. What is the life similarly that the gozoga the gejebri mersum that the jesha.
So maybe the in short the point making is that of course how to live one's life, it's an important element, but maybe more than that or before that is what is life? What is really one's life about? and therefore how to live that life meaningfully is more important to take note of.